So here we are, part 2, sharpening the beast in Elmax steel from Three Sisters Forge. Gonna move on to the Nanawa 2K green brick stone. I like this stone for stainless steels and harder, more wear resistant steels. It cuts quickly and puts on a really high polish. You can easily step to a high grit stone and have minimal work to do on a high grit stone after using this because of the level of polish and refinement it puts into an edge. So we're going to get started here. Typically stop right around 1000 grit with my ZT and Elmax steel. I like that finish for it, it works well, but I can feel through the sharpening of this blade, this steel here has gone through maybe a little more intensive heat treat process, might be a little harder or have a little more tempering that's gone through, but it's going to be able to support a higher refinement to the edge a little better. So we're taking it to a higher grit, likely finishing with my 6K Urashiyama stone. Pretty well, just got a little spot right up here at the tip. Seems like it needs a little extra care. There we go. Everything's looking all nice and even now. That is pretty sharp. Catching on the finger nicely. Take and just clean it up a little bit with a few more edge trailing strokes, make sure the burr is at a minimal. Okay, so that's good for this stone. And then we're going to finish with one of my favorites, the Urashiyama 6K. It's one of my first quality water stones right here. And, turned out to be one of the best that I've pretty much ever used. this should cut pretty quickly. The stone works fairly well with most metals I've ever used it with, except for when you get into too high of a wear resistance, then it just becomes troublesome for most water stones. But this is still doing well. As you can see, we have metal removal happening, and I can see on the bevel that it's working quickly to polish it and refine the scratch pattern that's there. When you're finishing the edge of a knife, you want to take your time and make sure you are using the stone long enough. 5 or 10 strokes on this stone is just not going to do it. You have to refine the scratch pattern from the previous stone you were working with until this stone is not doing anything but just abrading metal to an apex. You want to make sure that the scratch pattern is completely developed on the edge all the way down to the apex, and then the burr that's remaining, or the debris on the apex of the edge from the sharpening process that remains, can be removed through various stages of decreasing pressure while you're working on the stone. Coming along very nice. That is very keen, nice polish to the edge. I like the 6K stone because it produces a very fine edge, but also one that has a lot of bite to it. It seems to cut things nicely. Best I can describe it. Trouble spot in the very back here. Just need to work at it a little more. Sometimes that'll happen when you're working on a blade and it has a small flat section here. The point of contact in the flat section is a lot bigger. It needs more time on the stone than something like through the belly right here, which is going to have a smaller contact area, and it's going to remove larger amounts of metal in that area. So it's looking pretty good. Got almost all the burr off the edge. And we'll see how it does with the newsprint. I forgot to test the newsprint sharpness after the Nanawa stone. I'll do that here in a second. It was struggling at the lower grits because of the blade thickness, the overall geometry of it. So hopefully through sharpening and polishing, we've made a sharp enough edge with a good enough bevel geometry to better slice some newsprint. So here we go, let's see what we got. As you can see, it just effortlessly slices through the newsprint. So that's a good sign. We have a good level of sharpness going on right there. And I even think we'll take and strap it on a little piece of newsprint here. Get the edge cleaned up nicely. Any little burr removed off of there. And then we'll see if that's helped at all. I was kind of worried at first with this because of the thickness of the edge and how well it would cut. You know, what I could do with the bevel to better its geometry. And by slicing the newspaper and the newsprint not being pushed away too aggressively, folding over while I was cutting it, it shows to me that the bevel geometry will work well in general cutting tasks and be smoother than, let's say, the factory grind or previous sharpening might have been. Take a few more straws here. The edge feels pretty clean. Feels very sharp to the touch. This Elmax steel takes a beautiful polish. So there you have it. Yeah. Polish on the edge there. I don't know how well we're going to be able to capture that. See the tip's nice and pointy. Gotta make sure you got a sharp tip. Important. Once again, you can see just effortlessly slide through the paper. It's a little tougher to cut going across like that and use the newsprint. But what? That wasn't very impressive, huh? As you can see, though, it does make nice cuts in the newsprint. If anyone has any recommendations for a better media to cut to show sharpness, I'm all ears. But for now, I'm just going to be using newsprint. Hopefully that demonstrates the level of sharpness and refinement of the blade. So there you have it. Sharpening and polishing of the Three Sisters Forge Beast. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the section below.